Why didn't you tell me? This marriage is business, nothing personal. Do we have an understanding? I can feel my pulse racing. No, no, I can't be catching feelings for her. I can't let you marry him. Please stop. Please. Hey guys, welcome back to Afro-Korean Drama TV, where we serve you the most captivating tales of love, drama, and everything in between. Pour yourself some tea, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's juicy story. Don't forget to drop a comment, smash that like button, subscribe. Nkechi never imagined she'd end up married to a Korean man, especially not someone like Park Minho. But sometimes fate writes stories we never saw coming. It began one ordinary Tuesday when her co-worker Jasmine practically dragged her into the staff lounge at their office. "Girl, you never mentioned your husband is that Park Minho," Jasmine hissed urgently. Nkechi frowned. "Who's Park Minho?" "The celebrity attorney now. Second heir to Park Industries. The man everyone on social media calls the Frozen King." Nkechi sighed deeply. "Jas, please don't start spreading rumors." Jasmine clutched her chest dramatically. "You're married to the wealthiest emotionless man in Seoul, and you kept it from me, your best friend." Nkechi rolled her eyes and turned away. She couldn't explain the truth properly. She barely grasped it herself. 12 months ago, she met Minho exactly once. Their fathers were long-time business associates. His father wanted him married to settle corporate tensions. Her father wanted her to have stronger opportunities in Seoul. They signed paperwork the same afternoon they met. No courtship, no romantic dinner, just 2 signatures and a respectful nod. Now they shared a spotless, quiet apartment where even breathing felt measured. Minho was always courteous, always controlled, always unreachable. Every morning he sat at the breakfast table with his coffee. "Good morning," Nkechi would offer. "Morning," he'd respond, eyes fixed on his phone. He inquired about her schedule like a supervisor, not a spouse. "What time are you finishing today? Do you need transportation? Any important appointments?" Nothing deeper. No questions about her dreams, no playful banter, no affectionate teasing. At night, things shifted. In bed, he was tender and considerate, always seeking consent, always measured. He never hurried her, never made reckless demands. Yet afterward, he would turn quietly and sleep with his back toward her. Sometimes Nkechi wondered if he followed some checklist on how to behave like a flawless but emotionless spouse. One evening after a silent dinner, Nkechi found her courage. "Minho, do you ever think we should communicate more?" He regarded her steadily. "If you require anything, you can inform me. That's not my meaning." "What's your meaning?" Nkechi swallowed nervously. "I don't know. Perhaps understand each other better." He paused as if the suggestion puzzled him. "We're married," he said plainly. "We fulfill our responsibilities. We respect boundaries. That's sufficient." It stung even though she hadn't expected love from him. After he disappeared into his office, Jasmine called. "Nkechi, your marriage sounds like a corporate merger," Jasmine complained. "Is he at least affectionate?" Nkechi laughed weakly. "He's reliable." Inside her heart, she added another truth. He's also isolated, even though he doesn't recognize it. Later that evening, Nkechi observed him from their bedroom doorway. He sat on the bed's edge, unbuttoning his shirt slowly, his face composed, unreadable. A husband she shared intimacy with, but a man she hardly understood. That was their union. A soundless home, 2 strangers wearing matching rings. Tomorrow would repeat itself. She anticipated nothing different. She didn't realize yet. Everything was about to transform. The following morning proceeded identically. Nkechi entered the dining space, hoping something would shift after last night's brief conversation. Perhaps Minho would glance up and say something basic like, "Did you rest well?" But he didn't. He sat with his phone and coffee, expression unchanged as usual. Without glancing up, he said, "Good morning." "Morning," Nkechi replied, trying not to sound let down. She sat facing him, watching how precisely he moved, every gesture tidy, silent, and distant. It felt like cohabiting with a respectful stranger, not a husband. When she stood to depart for work, he asked his standard question. "What time will you return?" "Around 7. Message me if you need a car." Yes, that was all. As she exited the house, she realized something. She and Minho had shared a residence for 12 full months, yet she didn't know his preferred meal, his favorite songs, or what brought him joy. She didn't even know if he enjoyed having her nearby at work. Jasmine texted her constantly. "Jazz, Nkechi, how do you survive in that ice castle?" "Nkechi, girl please." Jazz, "Honestly, does he speak during meals or just uploads data into your brain like software?" Nkechi covered her face and chuckled quietly. Jasmine was theatrical but not completely mistaken. When Nkechi returned home that evening, Minho was already there, sitting upright on the sofa reviewing papers. "You're back," he said. "Yes." He examined her for several seconds, then asked, "Are you exhausted?" The question surprised her. He had never inquired that before. "A little," she replied softly. He nodded, as if that minor information was sufficient to store mentally. Later, they sat on opposite sides of the living room. Nkechi scrolled through her phone, pretending to be occupied. Minho typed on his computer. 2 people, 1 house. Yet, it felt like they existed in different universes. When bedtime arrived, Minho waited for her to finish in the bathroom. He always allowed her first. He was considerate like that. So considerate that it created a barrier she couldn't scale. On the bed, he touched her arm lightly. "Are you okay?" he asked. Again, the question surprised her. Twice in one evening. "Yes," she whispered. He nodded. Good. Their intimacy that night was the same as always. Steady, slow, controlled. His hands never trembled. His breathing never changed rhythm. He always paused to ask, "Is this fine?" before continuing. And after everything, he rolled gently away and lay on his side, silent, composed. Nkechi stared at his back. A man who touched her so intimately, yet felt so distant. She wondered if he ever wanted more. She wondered if she wanted more herself. As she closed her eyes, a quiet thought slipped into her mind. If we continue like this, what kind of marriage will we have in 5 years? 10 years? But before she could answer herself, sleep pulled her in. She didn't know that cracks had already begun to form in the ice between them. She just couldn't see them yet. The week after Nkechi's small surprises, Minho asking if she was tired, touching her arm gently, she started paying closer attention to him. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was something trying to grow. She wasn't sure. One evening after work, she changed her clothes and reached for her wedding ring, the simple but expensive band he had given her 12 months ago. She kept it in a small dish beside the bed. The dish was empty. Nkechi froze. She searched the drawer, the floor, her work bag, her pockets. Nothing. Her heart began to race. How do I tell a man like Minho that I lost a ring he paid millions for? She sat on the bed, breathing in and out, trying not to panic. The ring wasn't just jewelry. It was part of the agreement. It was one of the few signs that she belonged in that silent house. She searched again. Still nothing. That evening, when she heard the front door click open, her stomach tightened. She walked to the living room and stood in front of him. "Minho," she said quietly. He looked up from his documents. "Yes, I need to tell you something." He closed the file and waited, calm as always. "I lost my ring," Nkechi whispered. "I didn't mean to. I can't find it anywhere." She braced herself for anger, or at least disappointment, but he only blinked once and said, "Okay." Nkechi stared at him. "Okay? Yes. You're not upset?" He shook his head. "You didn't lose it on purpose, but the ring was expensive. I can order another one." Her mouth fell open. "Just like that?" "Yes." He picked up his phone. "Do you want the same design or a new one?" Nkechi grabbed his wrist quickly. Wait, are you seriously not angry? He looked at her carefully as if the question made no sense. Nkechi, he said slowly. Why should I be angry? It's a ring. You are not careless. You lost it. That is all. But it was custom made, she insisted. It was I can replace anything, he cut in gently. But I cannot replace trust. Nkechi swallowed. He wasn't joking. Then he added, there is only one thing I cannot accept in a marriage. She waited. Cheating, he said plainly. That is my boundary. Losing a ring is nothing. Betrayal is everything. Nkechi felt the words settle deep in her chest. He continued calmly. As long as we both keep our bodies clean and loyal, the rest can be fixed. She stared at him, shocked at how serious and steady he was. I don't love easily, he said, and I do not expect you to love me. But respect in marriage must remain. Nkechi nodded slowly. I understand. He relaxed a little. Good. I'll order 2 rings. Choose whichever you like. She almost laughed. There's no need for 2. There is, he replied simply. You are my wife. You deserve options. Nkechi looked at him long after he walked upstairs. He wasn't warm, he wasn't romantic, but he was firm, honest, and strangely protective. For the first time, she wondered if there was more to him than his cold walls. The next morning, Nkechi woke up to a quiet notification sound. Minho had placed a slim folder on her side of the bed. A note sat on top of it in his neat handwriting. For review. Sign when ready. Nkechi frowned. She carried the folder to the dining table where he sat with his usual coffee. What is this? She asked. Documents, he said. They confirm your dowry items, your monthly allowance, and the properties transferred into your name last year. Nkechi blinked. Transferred into my name? Yes. You never told me. You didn't ask, he replied calmly. She opened the folder. 5 villas, 2 cars, 3 business shares. A monthly living allowance that made her hand tremble. Minho, why are all these in my name? It is standard for a legal spouse, he answered without looking up. Everything tied to you must be protected. But this is too much. No, he said simply. It is correct. Nkechi slowly sat down. I feel like you're giving me things to replace something else. He paused. That made him look up. Replace what? She met his eyes. Love? He didn't flinch. This is not a love marriage. I know, she said softly. But sometimes I wonder if you're making up for the lack with money. I'm fulfilling my duty, he replied. Our agreement was clear. I provide stability and support. You live your life freely. Emotions were not part of the contract. Nkechi pressed her lips together. Do you ever think about changing that? Changing what? The fact that we're basically strangers who share a bed. His expression barely shifted, but she saw something flicker, something he quickly pushed down. We respect each other, he said. That is enough, she sighed. Maybe for you. Is it not enough for you? He asked. Nkechi hesitated. I don't know. Minho leaned back slightly. Nkechi, I am not a man who gives emotions easily. I don't know how to, but I won't abandon you. I won't hurt you. I won't embarrass you. I will always stand on your side, she swallowed. That sounds like loyalty. That is what I can give, he said. And what about what you cannot give, she whispered. He was silent for a long time. Then he said, love is unpredictable. It is messy. I avoid what I cannot control. Nkechi looked at the signed properties again. You're protecting me like someone you value. I value order, he corrected. And fairness. That's not all you value, she murmured. He froze but didn't argue. After breakfast, he handed her a pen. Sign when you're ready. Everything is yours whether you use it or not. She signed slowly, her chest tight. As she closed the folder, Minho added, Nkechi, we might not love each other, but I will not let you feel unsafe with me. She nodded. Yet, as he walked away, she couldn't shake the quiet truth rising in her. Maybe safety wasn't enough anymore. After signing the documents, Nkechi expected things to feel lighter between them, but nothing changed. Minho still kept his emotional distance. His words were polite, his actions were precise, and his face stayed unreadable. Only at night did he behave like a man who wasn't made of ice. That contrast confused her more than anything. One Friday morning at work, Jasmine cornered her at her desk. "Nkechi, tell me something," Jasmine whispered. "Is your husband sweet in the bedroom, or does he follow a written timetable?" Nkechi looked away. "Jazz, please." "No, tell me. I must know if frozen King Minho melts at night." Nkechi covered her face. "He's consistent." Jasmine gasped. "Consistent in a good way, or consistent like exercise routine?" Nkechi hissed softly. "Go away." Jasmine leaned closer. "So, he's good." Nkechi pressed her lips together, refusing to answer, but her silence told Jasmine everything. That night, when Nkechi got home, she found Minho removing his tie in the bedroom. He never rushed. Every movement was neat and calm, like he was afraid of disturbing the air around him. "You're back," he said gently. "Yes." "You look tired." Nkechi blinked. There it was again, those rare moments where he paid attention. "A little," she replied. He nodded, then walked past her close enough for her to feel his quiet presence. His cologne brushed her skin. Her heart reacted before her mind could. Later, when they lay in bed, he turned to her and brushed a thumb across her cheek. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yes." "Good." His voice dropped a little. "Do you want to tonight?" he always asked, never assumed, never demanded. It was one of the things she respected most about him. "Yes," she whispered. He kissed her slowly, almost carefully at first, then deeper with each breath. His touch was controlled, but there was heat beneath it. Heat she didn't see anywhere else in his life. He held her like she was something valuable he didn't want to mishandle. When they were done, he rested beside her for a full minute, instead of turning away immediately. That extra minute felt like an unexpected gift. But then, as always, he eventually shifted to his side, facing away. Nkechi stared at his back, wondering what went on inside that disciplined mind. How could he hold her like he felt something, then act like nothing happened when the lights went off? "Minho," she whispered. He hummed lightly, a sign he was awake. "Have you ever wanted more intimacy outside the bedroom?" There was a long pause. Then he said, "I am giving what I know how to give." "Is that enough for you?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," he admitted. Nkechi's chest tightened. She didn't know whether to be relieved or confused by his honesty. She reached out, almost touching his back, but stopped halfway. "I'm here," she whispered. He didn't reply, but she felt him breathe a little deeper, like her words reached him, even if he couldn't answer. That night, Nkechi fell asleep with a truth she was afraid to say out loud. Her cold husband was slowly becoming the only heat she craved. The following week, Nkechi tried to distract herself with work. Thinking about Minho only made her heart do things she didn't understand. She needed space in her mind, not feelings tying themselves into knots. Her design team had a big pitch with a wealthy Korean investor, Mr. Choi, known for his flashy lifestyle. Nkechi had worked all night on the proposal and hoped the meeting would go smoothly. When she walked into the conference room, Mr. Choi's eyes went straight to her, not her design board. "So you're the Nigerian designer," he said, smiling too widely. "Pretty and creative. Interesting combination." Nkechi forced a polite smile. "Good afternoon, sir." Throughout the presentation, he kept staring at her with the same unsettling interest. When it ended, he asked everyone to step out for 5 minutes. Only Nkechi remained. He leaned against the table. "Your work is good, but I like you more." Nkechi stiffened. "Sir, this is a work meeting." He reached for her hand. "Relax. I can help you rise quickly in this field. You don't have to struggle like the others." Nkechi pulled her hand back. I don't need that kind of help, he smirked. Your ring finger is empty. No husband around? I could give you a better life. Nkechi inhaled slowly. I'm married. Mr. Choi laughed loudly. To who? A broke man? A foreigner? He stepped closer. Come on, Nkechi. I can pay you 3 million a year just to be by my side. Nkechi stared at him. My husband gives me more than that monthly. That shut him up for 2 seconds. Then he scoffed. Lies. If you had a powerful husband, he wouldn't let you work here. Nkechi's voice hardened. I like working. I like you, he said, reaching for her again. Think about it. She stepped back, face firm. I'm not interested, sir, and please keep your hands to yourself. The door opened. Her team returned. Nkechi quickly gathered her papers and left the room before anyone could see the anger building behind her eyes. Jasmine found her later in the office kitchenette. Nkechi, what happened? You look like you want to slap somebody. Nkechi took a slow breath. That man disrespected me. Which man? Mr. Choi. Jasmine's mouth fell open. Ah, that one. He's known for chasing anything that moves. Nkechi looked away. He told me to be his side woman. Jasmine's eyes widened. What? Nkechi nodded. He thinks I'm desperate. Jasmine frowned. Are you going to tell your husband? Nkechi shook her head instantly. No, this is my problem. I can handle it. But as soon as she said it, she remembered the quiet warmth in Minho's touch. The way he asked if she was okay. The way he held her in the dark like she mattered. Part of her wondered how he would react if he knew another man had touched her hand. Another part feared seeing disappointment in his eyes. That night, Nkechi went home early, hoping to clear her mind. But when she stepped into the house and saw his shoes by the door, her heart tightened again. The line between safety and longing was becoming thinner every day. Nkechi entered the house quietly, still replaying Mr. Choi's words in her head. Even after a long shower, she felt his unwanted touch lingering on her skin. She told herself to shake it off. She told herself not to involve Minho. But when she opened the bedroom wardrobe to grab a fresh towel, something caught her eye. A bright red lipstick lay inside the pocket of one of Minho's suit jackets. Nkechi froze. She blinked, hoping she was mistaken. Maybe it was hers, but she never used that shade. She never placed anything in his pockets. She hardly touched his clothes at all unless she was packing for dry cleaning. Her heart began to pound. She pulled the jacket down carefully and checked again. The lipstick was real, and it definitely wasn't hers. All of Mr. Choi's comments came rushing back. No husband around. If you had a powerful husband, he wouldn't let you work here. Your ring finger is empty. For the first time, Nkechi wondered if she had been protecting a marriage that was already broken from the inside. She sat on the bed, clutching the lipstick, waiting for Minho to return. When he walked in later with his briefcase, he stopped when he saw her sitting stiffly. You're home early, he said. Nkechi didn't answer. He placed the briefcase down slowly. Nkechi. She held up the lipstick. Is this yours? His brows pinched slightly, not in guilt, but in confusion. Mine. This was in your suit pocket. Silence settled between them. Nkechi swallowed. I don't want drama, but this. Her voice cracked. This crosses my line. Minho stared at the object, then at her. I've never seen that before. Her chest ached. Please don't lie to me. I'm not lying, he said firmly. Nkechi stood, her hands shaking. You told me your only rule was fidelity. You said betrayal is the one thing you can't accept. I agreed. I gave you loyalty. I expect the same. He took a step closer. And I have given that. Then explain the lipstick. I don't know how it got there. Nkechi looked away. I can accept that you don't love me. I can accept that we live like strangers, but I cannot accept another woman touching you. His jaw tightened. No woman has touched me. She shook her head. I want a divorce. The words hit him harder than she expected. For the first time since she'd met him, something raw cracked through his calm expression. Nkechi, he said quietly, you're making a mistake. No, she whispered. You crossed my boundary. He took a slow breath. Give me 1 day. For what? To prove this is not what you think. Her chest tightened. And if you can't? Then, he said steadily, I will grant you whatever you want. Nkechi stared at the lipstick once more, unable to breathe normally. Minho had never raised his voice, never argued, never acted without control, but right there she saw something new in his eyes. Hurt, pride, and something he wasn't ready to name. I'll wait, she finally said. She placed the lipstick on the table and walked out. For the first time since they married, she left him standing alone in the middle of the room, unable to reach her. Nkechi barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined another woman leaning into Minho's suit, laughing, touching him, leaving her lipstick as a mark. By morning, she felt sick. When she stepped into the kitchen, Minho was already dressed, calm as always. But his eyes followed her quietly, like he was reading every emotion she was trying to hide. I'll return tonight, he said. Please wait for me. Nkechi didn't respond. She picked up her bag and left without breakfast. At work, Jasmine noticed instantly. Babe, what happened? Your face looks like heartbreak and headache mixed together. Nkechi sat at her desk and whispered, Jas, I found lipstick in his suit pocket. Jasmine gasped so loudly the whole office turned. Lipstick? As in female lipstick? As in, yes. Ah, that man, that cold robot. He cheated. Nkechi's voice cracked. I don't know. Jasmine softened. What did he say? He said he's never seen it before. He said to give him 1 day. And you? I told him I want a divorce. Jasmine grabbed her hand. Nkechi, are you sure? No, Nkechi whispered. But I felt dirty, like someone touched what's mine. Jasmine blinked. Nkechi, you care? Nkechi looked away. I didn't say that, you didn't have to. Before Nkechi could reply, her phone buzzed. Minho, be home at 7. I'm bringing someone. Her heart dropped. When she arrived home that evening, Mrs. Kim, the longtime housekeeper who'd known Minho since childhood, was sitting in the living room. Standing beside her was a younger woman from the law firm, wearing a tight suit and nervous expression. Nkechi's chest tightened. Minho stepped forward. Sit. Nkechi sat slowly. He pointed to the woman. This is attorney Lee Soyeon. Lee bowed reluctantly. Good evening. Minho's voice carried a calm edge Nkechi had never heard before. Show her. Lee swallowed, pulled out her phone and opened a CCTV clip. The footage showed Lee in Minho's office. She looked around, checked the hallway, then slipped the red lipstick into his suit pocket, hanging on a rack. Nkechi's mouth fell open. Lee began to shake. Director Park and I'm sorry, I like you. I thought maybe you would notice. I didn't know your wife would. Minho cut her off sharply. You tried to break my marriage because of a fantasy. I didn't mean. Be quiet, he said. Nkechi stared at the screen again, heartbreak turning into pure disbelief. Minho stepped closer to Nkechi. This is the truth. Lee bowed low, tears leaking from her eyes. Director Park, please don't fire me. I made a mistake. Just ignore the lipstick. You're done, he said coldly. Your resignation letter is ready. HR will process it tomorrow. Lee broke down, but Mrs. Kim escorted her out. When the door closed, silence filled the room. Nkechi finally looked up at him. Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't want you to leave the house thinking I betrayed you, he said quietly. I promised you honesty. Her throat tightened. I'm sorry. He shook his head. You reacted based on the one thing I told you matters most to me. I understand. She looked at the now empty doorway, then at the man who had never lied to her. Not once. Minho, she whispered, voice shaking. I misjudged you. He exhaled a soft, almost relieved sound. Nkechi, I told you, he said gently. I don't cheat. And for the first time since they married, she believed him fully. After Lee's confession, the house felt different. Quieter, but not the cold silence Nkechi was used to. This one felt like a held breath. Every time she looked at Minho, her chest tightened with guilt, and something warmer she wasn't ready to name. The next morning, as she prepared for work, he stood near the doorway. "Nkechi," he said softly, "I meant what I said. I will never betray you." She nodded, unable to speak without her voice shaking. When she arrived at work, her boss, Director Kim, called her into the conference room. "Nkechi," he began, rubbing his forehead. "We have a problem." Her heart sank. "What happened?" "Mr. Choi filed a claim against our company. He says your design proposal caused delays and losses." Director Kim slid a document across the table. "He's demanding damages." Nkechi felt heat rush to her face, but he approved everything before the meeting. "This is revenge because I rejected him." Director Kim sighed. "I know, but he's powerful. If we lose this case, the board will blame our department." Nkechi clenched her hands. "What do you want me to do?" "Stay calm," he said. "We've hired an external law firm." Before Nkechi could ask which firm, the conference door opened and Minho walked in. Her breath caught. Director Kim bowed quickly. "Director Park, thank you for coming on short notice." Nkechi stared at Minho in shock. He hadn't told her anything last night. He nodded politely to Director Kim, then turned to her. "Nkechi." His tone was calm, but his eyes held something firm. "Sit." She obeyed, still stunned. Director Kim explained the situation. Minho listened silently, flipping through the documents with sharp attention. When he closed the file, he said, "We will counter." Director Kim blinked. "Counter? How?" Minho looked at Nkechi. "Mr. Choi harassed you." "Provide details." Nkechi hesitated. I didn't want to involve you." "You are involved," he said quietly. "You're my wife." Her heart stumbled at those words. She recounted the meeting, Mr. Choi touching her hand, offering money, mocking her marriage, trying to trap her alone. Minho's expression never changed, but something cold settled in his eyes. "Do you have proof?" he asked. Nkechi nodded slowly. "I recorded the part where he offered me money." Director Kim nearly choked. "You recorded it?" Nkechi pulled out her phone, opened the audio file, and placed it on the table. Mr. Choi's voice filled the room. $3 million a year. Just be by my side. Your husband is nobody. I can give you more." When the recording ended, the room fell silent. Minho leaned back. "We will win this case." Director Kim exhaled in relief. "Director Park, thank you." Minho closed the file. Nkechi acted professionally. Mr. Choi did not. The law will reflect that. Then he stood, gathering the documents. "Nkechi, come." She followed him into the hallway. When they were alone, he said, "From today, if anyone insults or threatens you, you tell me immediately." She stared at him. "Why are you going this far?" He held her gaze steadily. "Because no man touches my wife and walks away freely." Nkechi's breath hitched. There was no romance in his voice, no dramatic tone, just solid, unshakable conviction. For the first time, she realized something powerful. Minho might not know how to love out loud, but he knew how to protect. And he protected her like she belonged deeply to him. The day after the meeting, the company buzzed with whispers. Everyone had heard that Mr. Choi's case suddenly went silent. No news, no threats, no follow-up. Nkechi suspected Minho had moved quietly, but she didn't dare ask. Late in the afternoon, Director Kim called her again. "Nkechi," he said, eyes wide. "Mr. Choi's company just withdrew everything. No demand, no claim." She blinked. "Just like that?" "Yes," he whispered, leaning closer. "And he was taken for questioning by financial crimes investigators this morning." Nkechi froze. "Investigators." Director Kim nodded. "They said someone reported him for fraud, bribery, and other things. The timing is strange." Strange? But Nkechi already knew the truth. Only one person in her world acted like a silent storm. Only one man protected without announcing his steps. Only one man moved in shadows, clearing threats before she even understood the danger. She left the office with her heart pounding. When she arrived home, the house was calm, still the same way it always was with Minho. But the moment she stepped inside, she sensed something different, something tense. He was sitting on the couch, jacket off, sleeves rolled halfway up. He didn't look angry. He looked controlled. Too controlled. "Nkechi," he said, eyes following her every step. "Come here." She sat opposite him, hands lightly folded. He studied her face for a moment. "Did anyone else bother you today?" "No," she whispered. "Everything was fine." "Good." He leaned back slightly. "Because if anyone does, I want to be the first to know." Nkechi swallowed. "You handled Mr. Choi, didn't you?" He didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "Men like him don't stop when you reject them once. They come back many times. I won't allow that." She stared at him, shocked at his bluntness. "But why does it matter so much to you?" He didn't look away. His voice stayed calm, low, steady. "Because you are not alone. Because you shouldn't fight these things alone. Because you're my wife." Her chest tightened. Wife. He said it like a responsibility he took seriously, like a vow, like a shield. But then his expression shifted, still controlled but sharper. "Nkechi," he said, "I have something to ask you." She held her breath. "Why didn't you tell me about the harassment the moment it happened?" "I didn't want to disturb you," she said quietly. "I didn't want to cause trouble." His jaw tightened. "I decide what is trouble." "Not you." She blinked, startled. He lowered his tone, but the firmness stayed. "You don't hide things that hurt you. Not from me." Her heart stung at the unexpected warmth behind the sharp words. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know you cared this much." He inhaled deeply as if choosing his next words carefully. "I don't care about everyone," his voice dropped, "but I care when it concerns you." Nkechi's fingers trembled slightly. He leaned forward. "Next time you come to me immediately. No apologies." She nodded slowly. "Okay? And, Nkechi," he added, looking directly into her eyes. "No one touches you, insults you, or threatens you ever. I won't allow it." His conviction wrapped around her like warmth she didn't expect. For the first time, she didn't see him as the cold man she married. She saw a protector, a man with quiet fire, a man who drew boundaries like steel when it came to her. And without meaning to, she felt herself stepping closer to his side. For a few days, Nkechi stayed careful, avoiding late nights and ignoring every call from unknown numbers. Minho didn't say much, but he watched her closely. Too closely. Sometimes his eyes softened when she wasn't looking, but he acted like nothing had changed. By Friday, her friend Kemi convinced her to step out for a drink. "Just 1 hour," Kemi said. "You've been too tense." Nkechi hesitated, thinking of Minho's warning, but she also remembered his exact words. "I won't restrict your freedom." So, she went. The bar was loud but not dangerous. Nkechi sat with Kemi, sipping juice, trying to laugh at small jokes. It felt good to breathe differently, even if she checked her phone every 5 minutes. They were getting ready to leave when a drunk man approached their table. "Fine girl, sit down," he slurred, grabbing Kemi's wrist. Kemi yanked her hand away. "Leave me alone." The man's eyes moved to Nkechi instead. "You two think you're better than everyone?" Nkechi stood. "We're leaving." He shoved her shoulder. "Sit down." Before Nkechi could react, Kemi swung her bag and hit him first. Then everything exploded. The man pushed back. Chairs fell. People started shouting. Nkechi tried to pull Kemi away, but the drunk man lunged again. In the commotion, Nkechi slapped him hard across the face. He wasn't expecting that. Seconds later, the bar manager called security and someone called the police. In less than 10 minutes, everyone involved was dragged outside. At the police station, Nkechi sat on a bench, hands shaking, embarrassed and exhausted. Kemi kept muttering apologies. "I didn't mean to drag you into this," Kemi whispered. "It's fine," Nkechi said weakly, though it wasn't fine. Her phone buzzed. "Minho." Her stomach dropped. She answered with a trembling voice. "Hello? Where are you?" His tone was calm, but the dangerous kind of calm. At the police station, he didn't ask another question. He simply said, "Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming." 20 minutes later, he appeared, still in his work clothes, hair slightly messy, like he had rushed out. The moment his eyes landed on her, something tight in his expression loosened only for a second. "What happened?" he asked. Nkechi swallowed. "It was a fight." Kemi hit him first. "I only." He stepped closer. "Did he touch you?" "No." "Did he hurt you?" "No." "Good," he said, voice dropping. "Stay behind me." He handled the police with steady confidence, speaking calmly, showing his ID, asking clear questions. Within minutes, the officers released both Nkechi and Kemi, noting that the drunk man had started the trouble. Outside, Nkechi exhaled shakily. "Thank you." Minho didn't answer. He just looked at her, eyes unreadable. Then he said quietly, "Nkechi, do you understand why I told you to call me?" She looked down. "Yes." "And do you understand what could have happened if I wasn't here?" Nkechi nodded, throat tight. "I'm sorry." He didn't scold her. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he took her hand, firm, steady, warm. "Next time," he said, "don't ever face danger without me." His words weren't anger. They were fear disguised as control. And Nkechi felt it deeply. The ride home was quiet, but not cold. Nkechi could feel the tension around Minho tight, controlled, simmering. He didn't shout, didn't accuse, didn't even sigh. He just held the steering wheel like he was fighting something inside him. When they reached the apartment, he opened her door before she could move. "Come in," he said softly. Inside, Nkechi tried to keep a little space between them, but he stopped her with one sentence. "Nkechi," he said quietly, "don't walk away from me." She froze. He looked tired, more tired than she had ever seen him. Not physically, but emotionally. His voice was low, steady, but there was something raw underneath it. "You were at a police station," he said. "You were scared, and you apologized to me like I was a stranger." She lowered her eyes. "I didn't want to bother you again." "You're not bothering me," he said. "You're my wife." The word felt different this time. Full, heavy, sincere. She opened her mouth to speak, but he took a step closer. "I didn't marry you for romance," he continued, "and you didn't marry me for love. We agreed on boundaries, but Nkechi," his voice dropped. "We are not strangers." She felt her chest tighten. "I'm used to keeping distance," he admitted. "It's easier, safer, clean." He paused. "But you ignore every wall I built without even trying. And I don't know how to handle it." Nkechi swallowed, surprised. "I never tried to break your walls. I just live," he finished. "You live like you're not afraid of me, like you trust me, like you don't care how cold I look." The way he said it made her feel something warm and painful at the same time. He exhaled and sat on the edge of the couch. "Sit." Nkechi hesitated but obeyed, sitting next to him. Not far, not close. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then he asked, "Why do you keep thanking me?" She blinked. "Because you help me." "You don't thank your husband for protecting you," he said quietly. "That should be normal." "But we were never a real couple," she whispered. "Then let's stop acting like strangers," he replied. Her breath caught. He reached for her hands slowly, giving her enough time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't move. His fingers wrapped around hers, warm and firm. "I don't want polite distance anymore," he said. "Not with you." Nkechi felt something in her chest shift, like the ground had moved beneath her feet. She tried to speak, but her voice shook. "I didn't know you wanted that." "I didn't know either," he admitted. "Not until tonight." He brushed his thumb over her knuckles, gentle and deliberate. "You could have been hurt," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "And I realize the thought of losing you terrifies me." Her eyes widened. He met her gaze directly. No walls, no coldness. "Nkechi, don't be polite with me again. Don't distance yourself. Don't hide from me." A small breath escaped her. Okay, she whispered. He lifted her hand and pressed it against his chest. Good, he murmured, because I want you close. Not halfway, close. And for the first time since their arranged marriage began, Nkechi felt like the walls between them had finally cracked open. The shift between Nkechi and Minho was subtle but real. He no longer walked past her. He walked beside her. He no longer kept silent walls. He answered when she spoke, and when she looked at him, he didn't look away. So when his aunt requested a family dinner, he surprised her with one simple sentence. I'll go with you. Nkechi almost choked on her tea. You want to come? Yes, he said calmly. You're my wife. That was all. The dinner was held at a private restaurant near Gangnam. Nkechi recognized the place immediately. Expensive, quiet, the type of location only old money families used. They arrived together, and the moment they stepped in, the entire table paused. Aunt Hyeon leaned forward with a teasing smile. Nkechi, you finally dragged our busy Minho out. Another cousin whispered loudly, he's even holding her bag. Minho didn't react. He simply pulled out Nkechi's chair and sat beside her. The meal began smoothly until Rami, one of his cousins known for sharp comments, leaned toward Nkechi. I heard you two have been married for a year, she said. Still no children? Nkechi smiled lightly. We're not in a rush. Rami scoffed. Maybe he doesn't want any with you? Before Nkechi could answer, Minho placed his chopsticks down. Rami, he said, voice calm but final. Don't speak about my wife like that. The table fell silent. Nkechi blinked, stunned by how quick and firm he was. Rami pouted. I was just joking. Don't joke at her expense. Nkechi hid her smile. Later in the meal, Rami tried again. Nkechi, your bag looks simple. Didn't you want something more elegant? Something that matches the family? Nkechi looked at her small black handbag, the one she bought before marriage. Nothing fancy. Before she could speak, Minho reached under the table and placed something beside her chair. She didn't notice until he quietly said, Use this instead. Nkechi opened the box. Her breath caught. It was a Hermes Birkin, limited edition. Rare, iconic, worth more than most apartments in Lagos. Everyone at the table gasped. Aunt Haeyeon clapped softly. Our Minho has good taste. Rami froze, speechless. Nkechi's hand shook slightly. Minho, this is too much. He looked at her, tone gentle but firm. It's not. You should carry what belongs to my wife, she swallowed. But you never said. You never asked, he replied simply. The rest of the dinner shifted instantly. Relatives who once ignored her now complimented her. Those who whispered about her now smiled politely. Some even tried to ask about her work. But Nkechi kept glancing at Minho, feeling something warm settling inside her. Not because of the bag, not because of the attention, but because he had defended her quietly, decisively, and without expecting thanks. On the ride home, she held the box on her lap. You didn't have to do all that, she whispered. I know, he said, but I wanted to. Why? He met her eyes briefly before returning to the road. Because you're my wife. And today you should feel like one. Her heart thudded softly. Something between them was no longer shifting. It was settling. The Hermes bag became a quiet reminder of how much things had changed. Nkechi didn't carry it every day, but she kept it safe, sometimes opening the box just to stare at it and smile. Not because of the price, but because of the message behind it. Minho had taken her side in public, in front of his family without hesitation, but the next shift came from something small, delicate, and far more personal. One morning, Nkechi was getting ready when she saw a velvet box placed on her dressing table. It wasn't there the night before. She opened it carefully. Inside was a jade bracelet, smooth and glowing with a deep green colour. It looked rare, too rare for casual gifting. She touched it lightly, startled at how cold yet heavy it felt. As she turned it in her hand, she heard his voice behind her. "It's for you." She looked back at him. "For me? Why?" He walked closer, expression calm but serious. "My sister-in-law has one. It's a family piece. You should have yours too." Nkechi blinked, surprised. He thought about such things. But when she lifted the bracelet again, she noticed something odd. A faint crack, thin but visible. She frowned. "It's broken." He stiffened. "It was repaired." "Repaired?" she repeated. His voice remained even, but his shoulders tightened in a subtle way she had learned to notice. "I planned to give it earlier, but the original was damaged. They fixed it." Nkechi studied the bracelet quietly. If it was so important, then why? "Is this something that belonged to someone else?" she asked softly. He paused. That pause told her more than words. Nkechi placed the bracelet back inside the box gently. "Minho, tell me the truth." He didn't speak immediately. Instead, he sat on the edge of the bed, elbows resting on his knees, staring at the floor like he was fighting old shadows. "It belonged to my mother," he said finally. Nkechi's chest tightened. He rarely mentioned his family, only brief comments about his father or his brother. Never his mother. "She gave it to my sister-in-law before she passed," he continued. "I kept the other one." Nkechi touched the box again, now with more care. "You didn't have to give this to me." "I did," he replied. "You're my wife. You should have it." But something in his tone didn't feel complete. "Why were you hesitant before?" Nkechi asked. "You looked pained when you said her name." He exhaled slowly. "Some memories are not easy. Some things were not happy." Nkechi understood. Pain, distance, silence. Those were things she saw in him every day without fully knowing why. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He lifted his head slightly. "Why are you sorry? For making you talk about something that hurts?" He shook his head. "You didn't. I just needed time." She closed the box gently. "Thank you. I'll wear it." He stood, walked to her and took her hand. "You don't have to wear it every day," he said softly. "Just keep it. It means something." His thumb brushed over her knuckles. Nkechi felt her heart warm. "I will." But when he left for work, she looked at the green stone again, and something in her chest tightened. Not jealousy, not fear, something deeper. "I want to help him carry whatever pain is hiding behind this bracelet." And for the first time, Nkechi realized she didn't just care for him. She wanted to heal him. Nkechi couldn't stop thinking about the jade bracelet. All day as she worked on new design layouts, she found herself touching her wrist, remembering the weight of the stone, remembering the crack, remembering the way Minho's voice tightened whenever he mentioned his mother. By evening, curiosity and worry had settled heavily on her chest. She wanted answers, not to satisfy herself but to understand him. When she got home, the house was unusually quiet. Mrs. Kim, the older woman who had helped raise Minho since childhood, was arranging groceries in the kitchen. "Auntie," Nkechi said softly, "can I ask you something?" Mrs. Kim looked up with a warm smile. "Of course, dear." "What is it?" Nkechi hesitated, then pulled out the velvet box. "Do you know about this bracelet?" Mrs. Kim froze. Her expression changed, not with anger but with something close to sadness. "You should ask Minho," she said gently. "I did," Nkechi whispered, "but he didn't tell me everything." Mrs. Kim sighed, sat down and motioned for Nkechi to sit beside her. "That bracelet," she began, "was part of a pair. One belonged to his grandmother, the other to his mother, Madam Choi." Nkechi listened quietly. "His mother was a beautiful woman," Mrs. Kim continued. "Smart, elegant. Everyone loved her, but her heart was restless." Nkechi frowned. "Restless?" Mrs. Kim nodded sadly. "She had an affair for a long time. And one day when Minho was only 10, he walked in on her, holding hands with another man." Nkechi's eyes widened. Her breath caught. He was only 10. Too young, Mrs. Kim whispered. Too young to understand why the person he adored most was kissing someone who wasn't his father. Mrs. Kim lowered her voice. His mother tried to explain, tried to pretend it wasn't what he saw. But children understand betrayal more clearly than adults think. Nkechi felt a deep ache in her chest. He stopped calling her Ioma that day, Mrs. Kim continued. He stopped smiling. He stopped trusting easily. And when Madame Choi passed a few years later, he refused to attend the funeral. Nkechi pressed a hand to her heart. So that was the wound behind his coldness, the reason behind his control. The wall he had built long before she entered his life. And the bracelet? She asked quietly. Mrs. Kim smiled sadly. The original cracked while he was arguing with her the day he found out. He threw it against the wall, but later he picked it up and kept it. Nkechi's throat tightened. He never intended to give it to anyone. Not until you. Nkechi looked down at the velvet box, suddenly afraid to touch it. He gave it to you, Mrs. Kim said gently. Not because of duty, because your presence softens the places he once shut down. Nkechi blinked rapidly. I didn't know. You didn't need to know, Mrs. Kim replied. But now that you do, treat that bracelet with care. It's not just jade. What is it then? Nkechi whispered. It's the one thing he saved from the woman who broke him, Mrs. Kim said softly. If he chose to give it to you, it means he trusts you with a part of his heart he never healed. Nkechi's eyes burned, and in that moment she understood something clearly. She didn't just want to heal him. She was already falling in love with him. That night, Nkechi didn't sleep well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw a 10-year-old boy standing in a doorway, staring at a mother who broke his trust. Saw him picking up a shattered jade bracelet. Saw him choosing silence instead of tears. By morning, the weight in her chest was too much to ignore. She placed the bracelet back inside its box and held it in her lap for a long moment. Not because she didn't want it, but because she finally understood how much it meant to him. When Minho returned from an early meeting, he stopped at the entrance when he saw her waiting for him in the living room. Nkechi, you're up early. She stood, hands trembling slightly. We need to talk. He walked closer, guarded. About what? She held out the velvet box. His expression changed instantly, eyes sharpening, body tensing. Did something happen to it? No, she said quietly. It's fine. He exhaled, but the tension didn't leave him. Then why are you giving it back? Nkechi swallowed hard. Because this bracelet is not just jade. It's a wound you carried for years. I don't want to hold something that still hurts you. His jaw tightened. It doesn't hurt. You don't have to pretend, she whispered. He looked away, his voice dropping. That part of my life is over. Nkechi shook her head gently. If it was truly over, you would have told me the full story instead of hiding it. He stiffened. Who told you? Mrs. Kim. Silence. Long, heavy silence. He closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them, the coldness he used as armor returned. You shouldn't have asked her. I asked because I care, Nkechi said softly, because I want to understand you. I didn't give you the bracelet for pity, he said sharply, or because I'm broken. I know, Nkechi replied. You gave it because you trust me with something personal. But I don't want it if it makes you remember pain you didn't choose to share. He stepped closer, voice low. Stop trying to protect me. I'm not protecting you, she whispered. I'm trying to love you. The moment the words left her mouth, they froze between them. Nkechi's heart raced. She had said it without planning to, without thinking. Minho stared at her like she had said something impossible. You love me, he said slowly. Her voice trembled. I didn't mean to say it like that, but yes. I feel something. Something real. He swallowed hard, his control cracking for the first time in years. And you think returning the bracelet will make me what? Safe? His voice shook with something she had never heard. Fear. Distance me? Protect me from you? No, Nkechi said. I'm giving it back because I want the next thing you give me to be something without pain attached. Something you choose freely, not something you forced yourself to offer. His eyes softened in a way that melted every wall between them. He lifted the box slowly, closed it, and held it against his chest. You don't understand, Nkechi, he said quietly. He took her hand, placed the box back into her palms, and covered it with his own. I didn't give this to you because I was ready, he whispered. I gave it because you're the only person I've ever wanted to give it to. Nkechi's breath caught. No one else, he said. Not even the person who hurt me. Only you. Her eyes filled. And if you return it, he finished softly, I fear you're returning me too. The bracelet felt heavier now, not with pain but with meaning. Slowly, Nkechi closed her fingers around it. I'm not returning you, she whispered. He exhaled shakily. She stepped closer, rested her forehead against his chest, and let him hold her. Not politely, not distantly, but completely. And for the first time, Minho let himself hold someone like he wasn't afraid of breaking. The days after the bracelet incident felt different, calmer, warmer, clearer. Something had cracked open between them, and neither tried to close it again. Nkechi found herself watching Minho more. He touched her more, not with passion, but with presence. His hand on her lower back, his fingers brushing hers, small gestures that said, I'm here. One morning, a construction site inspection required her presence. She kissed his cheek before leaving. A small, shy kiss. He froze in surprise, then smiled softly. Be safe. Call me if anything happens. I will, she promised. But fate had its own plans. At the site, a loose plank on the second floor slipped while a worker was moving materials. Nkechi didn't see it until someone shouted. She turned. The plank struck her shoulder, knocking her backwards. She hit the ground, not hard enough to break anything, but enough to slam her head. Everything spun for a moment. Co-workers rushed to her side. Nkechi, are you okay? She tried to stand, but stumbled. I'm fine, I think. She wasn't. Her vision blurred. A sharp ringing filled her ears. Someone called an ambulance. Someone else called Minho. She didn't know who. It didn't matter because 15 minutes later he burst into the emergency ward like a man fighting his own fear. Nkechi, he called, voice cracking. She looked up weakly. I'm okay. You're not, he said, rushing to her side. Why didn't you call me? I was dizzy. He stopped. His hand trembled slightly when he cupped her cheek. It's okay, he whispered. I'm here now. The doctor confirmed it was a mild concussion. No internal bleeding, just rest and observation. They placed her in a private room. When the nurse asked who would stay with her overnight, Minho didn't even look up from adjusting her pillow. I will, he said. Nkechi tried to protest. You have work. I don't care, she blinked. But, Nkechi, he said softly, I am staying with you. He sat beside her bed, refusing to leave even when the nurse brought a narrow companion cot. Hours passed. Nkechi dozed in and out of sleep. Each time she opened her eyes, he was there, adjusting her blanket, checking her water, brushing her hair from her forehead. At one point, she whispered, You don't have to watch me like that. His voice was quiet. I thought I lost you today. Her breath caught. He looked away, eyes tight. When they called, I felt something I haven't felt since I was a kid. Panic. Real panic. She reached for his hand, squeezing gently. I'm here. He exhaled shakily. Later that night, as she shifted uncomfortably in the hospital bed, he stood. This cot is too small for me, he muttered. She smiled weakly. You should go home. No? Instead, he lifted the blanket and slipped into the bed beside her. Nkechi stiffened. Minho. I'll stay on my side, he whispered, settling gently. But I'm not sleeping far away while you're like this. She relaxed slowly, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. He didn't touch her, didn't pull her close, but his presence wrapped around her like warmth she didn't know she needed. Nkechi, he murmured. already half asleep. "Don't scare me like that again," she whispered. "I'll try." And for the first time, their marriage bed wasn't defined by passion or obligation, but by quiet, vulnerable closeness. When Nkechi was discharged the next afternoon, Minho insisted on driving her home. He held her elbow as they walked, opened every door, even adjusted her seatbelt for her. It wasn't dramatic, just steady, quiet care that felt heavier than any confession. At home, he guided her to the couch. "Rest," he said. She smiled. "I'm not fragile." He shot her a look that silenced her instantly. "You're not fragile," he said. "But you scared me." She blinked, startled by the honesty in his voice. He sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly. It was the same posture he used when he was hiding something deep. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. He didn't look up. "I've been thinking." "About what?" He exhaled slowly. "About us." Nkechi's heart thudded. He finally lifted his eyes and the vulnerability there startled her. "When I saw you fall," he paused, voice rough, "I felt something I didn't want to feel." "Fear," she whispered. "More than fear," he admitted. "Something I've avoided all my life." Nkechi swallowed. "Loving someone." He looked away, jaw tightening. "I don't know if it's love, but I know it's too much and too fast." Her chest tightened, not because she was hurt, but because she could hear the truth in his voice. He wasn't pulling away out of rejection. He was pulling away out of fear. "Minho," she said softly, "I'm not your mother." "I know," he said quickly. "Then don't punish yourself for caring." He looked at her again, something conflicted in his eyes. "Caring means losing control. It means depending on someone. It means—" He exhaled shakily. "It means they can leave." Nkechi moved to sit beside him. "Look at me," she whispered. He did. "I'm not leaving," she said. "You're not a 10-year-old boy anymore. You're not waiting for someone to choose someone else over you." He stared at her like she was speaking a language he didn't know he understood. She touched his hand. "But I won't force you to feel anything. Not love, not closeness, not anything." His fingers curled around hers instantly like he didn't want her to let go. "That's the problem," he said quietly. "I want you close, and that scares me." Nkechi leaned her head on his shoulder gently. He didn't move away. "Then we'll take it slow," she murmured. "I'm here, not going anywhere." For a long moment he just breathed, slow, heavy breaths, like he was calming a storm inside him. Then he spoke, voice quiet against her hair. "I don't want slow." She lifted her head slightly. His eyes were conflicted, but his hand tightened around hers. "I want you," he confessed. "But I don't know how to want someone without losing myself." Nkechi cupped his cheek lightly. "Then we learn together." He swallowed hard, leaning into her palm. But she noticed something else, something subtle. He hadn't kissed her since the hospital. He hadn't touched her the way he used to. Not from lack of desire, but because he was scared of how much he wanted her. That night, after she fell asleep on the couch, he covered her with a blanket and stayed beside her, watching her breathe. He whispered into the quiet room, "I don't want distance, but I don't know how to do this." Love was pulling him forward. Fear was pulling him back. And Nkechi, soft, steady Nkechi, was right in the middle, holding both sides without letting go. The next morning, Nkechi woke up alone on the couch. A folded blanket covered her legs and a glass of water sat on the table beside her. The house was quiet, too quiet. She stood slowly and called out, "Minho!" No answer. Mrs. Kim poked her head from the hallway. "Oh dear, he already left." "What?" "He didn't wake me." "He said you needed rest," Mrs. Kim replied. "He mentioned a business trip." Nkechi blinked. "A business trip? For how long?" "A couple of weeks, I think." Her heart dropped. No message, no note, no goodbye, just distance. At first, she waited patiently. Day 1, day 2, day 3. No calls, no texts, not even a one-line update. She tried not to overthink. He's busy. He warned me he was overwhelmed. Give him space, he'll reach out. But by day 6, her chest felt heavy. By day 10, she couldn't sleep. By day 12, she started checking her phone every few minutes. She replayed his last words again and again. I want you, but I don't know how to want someone without losing myself. She wondered if she had pushed too hard, if loving him had scared him away, if her confession made him retreat behind the same walls he promised to lower. She stopped eating properly, stopped joking with Kemi, stopped sleeping on the bed they had shared warmth there, and sleeping alone felt too sharp. Day 14. When Mrs. Kim noticed Nkechi staring blankly at her food, she sat beside her. You're worried. Nkechi forced a smile. No, I'm just tired. He'll come back, Mrs. Kim said. Minho always disappears when he is overwhelmed, but he always returns. Nkechi swallowed. But what if this time he doesn't? He will, Mrs. Kim said firmly, because this time he isn't running away from a problem. He's running away from something new. What's that? Feeling safe with someone. Nkechi's eyes stung. He has never trusted anyone this much, Mrs. Kim said. That alone is frightening for him. Nkechi nodded slowly, trying to swallow the ache. Day 17. Nkechi woke up before sunrise. She moved through the living room, straightened the cushions, opened the curtains, and sat on the couch. She stared at the door. She didn't know what she was waiting for. A message? A call? His voice? Finally, she whispered to herself, maybe I should let him go, saying it hurt more than she expected. She looked at the jade bracelet on her wrist. It glowed softly in the morning light. Don't return me. His words echoed in her head. She sighed, pressing the bracelet gently against her chest. I miss you, she whispered into the empty room. I miss you so much. Her voice cracked. Tears filled her eyes. Just then, a soft click. The front door unlocked. Nkechi froze. It opened slowly and Minho stepped inside. He looked exhausted, eyes dark, clothes wrinkled, hair messy, as if he hadn't slept properly the entire trip. He shut the door, lifted his head, and saw her. For a moment he didn't breathe, then he exhaled shakily. Nkechi. Her eyes filled again. He stepped forward, slow, unsure, afraid. You're really here, she whispered. He swallowed hard. I came back. She stood, trembling. Why didn't you call? Why didn't you text? 17 days, Minho. He closed the distance between them in 2 steps. His voice was low, rough, and breaking. I tried, he said. Every day I tried, but every time I reached for my phone, I realized how much I missed you and it scared me more. Her breath caught. He took her face in his hands gently. Nkechi, he whispered. I didn't stay away because I wanted distance. Her heart pounded. I stayed away because I realized something. What? She whispered. He rested his forehead against hers. I'm in love with you. For a moment, Nkechi couldn't breathe. His forehead was resting against hers, his hands warm on her cheeks, and the words he just said, words she had waited 17 painful days to hear, echoed in her chest. I'm in love with you. She gripped his sleeves gently, afraid she imagined it. Say it again. He opened his eyes slowly, voice low and steady. Nkechi, I am in love with you. A tear slipped down her cheek. He wiped it with his thumb, his own breath unsteady. I didn't leave to hurt you, he whispered. I left because I wasn't ready to feel this much. I didn't know how to be close without fearing you'd disappear like she did. Nkechi shook her head softly. I'm not going anywhere. He closed his eyes, shoulders finally relaxing, as if those words untied every knot inside him. I know that now, he said. She touched his chest lightly over his heartbeat. Then why did you stay away for so long? He swallowed. Because loving you didn't feel like losing control anymore. It felt like learning how to live, and that terrified me. I had to face myself before I faced you. Nkechi's heart warmed. And now? He cupped her face gently. Now I want you fully, not because of our contract. Not because of obligation, his voice dropped, but because I choose you. Nkechi exhaled shakily, leaning into his touch. I choose you too. A quiet silence hovered between them, warm, peaceful, final. Then he pulled her into his arms. This time it wasn't cautious or polite. He held her like someone who had been starving for 17 days. She held him like someone who had been waiting 17 days to breathe again. Later they sat on the couch, her legs tucked beside him, his arm resting behind her as if it belonged there. He looked at her wrist and traced the jade bracelet gently. You kept it, he murmured. Of course, she whispered. It's part of you. It's a reminder of my past, he said. It's also a promise of your future, she replied. He looked at her, a long, searching look, then nodded. Nkechi, I want to talk about us. She straightened nervously. Okay. He took her hand in both of his. Let's end the contract. Her breath caught. He continued before she misunderstood. I don't want a marriage with rules or distance or conditions. He looked directly into her eyes. I want a real marriage, one we choose every day. Her heart pounded. Are you sure? Yes. He lifted her hand to his lips. I want to be your husband. Not on paper, but here. He touched his chest. And here. He touched hers. Nkechi felt something warm spread through her whole body. I want that too, she said softly. He kissed her forehead, a slow, lingering kiss that said everything words couldn't. Then, from today, he whispered, no more contract. Only choice, she finished. He smiled, soft, rare, real, the kind of smile she had never seen on him before she came into his life. Nkechi rested her head on his shoulder, closing her eyes. Seoul moved quietly outside their window, but inside everything felt new. A past filled with silence, a marriage filled with distance, a contract filled with rules, all replaced by one simple truth. They loved each other. Not by force, not by duty, but by choice. The beginning of something real, something warm, something theirs. From contract to choice. This time they were both all in. Thank you so much for staying with us till the very end of this story. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear the lessons you learned. See you in the next story.